Hi, this is Jen coming to you from the great state of Maine. And today I want to go over, take a few minutes to talk about learning to read Braille. The pros and the cons of reading Braille, right? To Braille or not to Braille, that is the question. Let me begin with the pros and cons, and then I'll give you just a real quick snapshot of what it is to read Braille, in case you're thinking about learning it for yourself. So the cons are pretty straightforward. There's really only one con to reading Braille, and that is that in order to read it, you have to learn a new skill set, and that takes time. And probably not everyone's going to be able to grasp it or want to invest that time. The pros of reading Braille. I find that reading Braille for me is more active. Now, I use what's called a digital player. For those of you who are blind or visually impaired, I am holding up a black player that weighs about 1.5 pounds, and I got it from the Maine State Library. It was sent to me, and it is free matter for the blind. So thank you to those of you taxpayers out there who help support this, and I mean that in all seriousness. So I do use a video player, and each time I wish to receive a book or my news magazines, these little cartridges come to me through the mail, and I simply pop them into the player, push the go button, and push the play button, and I can listen to any number of stories or books or magazines. So that's called a digital player. So back to Braille. One of the pros of reading Braille, again, is that it's more active than the digital player, right? I like the movement of my fingers across the page. I began reading print years ago, and even though I haven't been able to read print for many years, reading Braille just feels more active to me, much as reading print did. Okay, so a brief overview of how Braille works. Well, when you receive a book in Braille, it usually is a big, thick volume. Oftentimes, books come in 3, 4, 5 volumes, right? They usually come to you through the mail. I receive my books from the Perkins Library for the Blind down in Watertown, Massachusetts. Again, they come through the mail, and they're in these big black boxes. You open them up, you read your books, you put them in, you flip over a paper that has the return address on it, and voila, you send it back through the mail. Again, thank you to you taxpayers who have made this possible to me through the years. When you read Braille, you begin at the beginning of the book, just as you would with a print book. And there's usually, like a cover page and any special notes that you need to know. And there are multiple levels of Braille. So when you begin to learn Braille, and you can learn either by going to an instructor, you can learn even online these days. But I went to an instructor. It was it was Saturday mornings for 1 hour for 14 weeks. So I guess you could say technically it was 14 hours worth of Braille. And that taught me level 1, which is Braille without any contractions or shortened forms. And it taught me level 2, which is Braille that does have contracted forms. There are many, many contracted forms in Braille because the bumps in a Braille book take up so much more space than the written word that it's good to have those shortened forms just to keep your books from being too long. When you get a book in Braille, it is usually identical to that of the printed version, with the exception of photographs or illustrations. And then you might find just a description, but typically not the illustration. Although I have had some books that have actually recreated the illustration with using bumps. When you read in Braille, you use primarily your pointer fingers. Your pointer finger on the right hand is the finger that will go across the page, and your pointer finger of on your left hand is what will hold that spot. All Braille are a series of little blocks that have 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they are in the shape of, say, your refrigerator. 2 dots at the top, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the bottom. I say dots, I guess I should say bumps. And that is called a cell. And that is what Braille is. It's just many, many of those cells put together. And each cell has 6 bumps that is put in a particular combination to be able to be a word, and those words come together to make sentences, and so on and so forth. So when I read, again, I use my pointer fingers and I go across with one finger while my left pointer finger holds the line. Parents, if your child has the possibility of going blind, I suggest you err on the side of caution. Even if you're not sure if your child will be blind, just have him or her get lessons in Braille. My friends who have been blind since a young age and read Braille are very quick. In fact, they are quicker to read a book than people who are sighted. That's how fast their hands just fly over the page. But the earlier in life we learn, typically, the easier it is to grasp. On a side note, I've often wondered if it wouldn't benefit young children who are identified as dyslexic to learn Braille as well. If it might not somehow help them to be able to grasp reading better. So, other pros of reading Braille. So, why read Braille? Well, let me give you a couple more pros. One other thing about reading Braille, for me, I feel I retain more information than I do when I'm listening to an audiobook. And the other thing is this is kind of cool. Even if you just learn the basics of level 1 Braille, right? Even if you just learn the combination of bumps for numbers 1 through 10 and alphabet letters, there are a lot of options that, a lot of games that you can play with that. For example, Scrabble. Did you know that Scrabble the tiles can come in Braille? So even if you know ABC, and as I say, the alphabet letters and the numbers, that opens the door for you to be able to play Scrabble. Or Uno. I have Uno cards that are in Braille. I have regular poker cards that are in Braille. And so for me, even just learning level 1 was well worth it because I love playing games, or at least those kind of games. I don't love playing Pie Face. Anyway, so if you're just getting started, this is what I would recommend. Either on your computer or by pushing 211 on your phone, see if you can get connected with someone who either teaches Braille or has learned Braille, and have a discussion and give it a try. Maybe just take a couple of lessons or take a look online at what it involves and see if it's a good fit for you. But I also recommend use the other resources that are available to you. Get your hands on a digital player. You can use Audible books, right, through Amazon. Even your local library usually has CDs that have books on them, audiobooks, right? Because for me, what has worked best through the years has been multiple resources. And that's how I've been able to stay in touch with, say, current events and get the information I need through various formats. All right, so hope this helps. This is Jen signing off. Bye.